The following is a production of the Penn Sports Network.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and sports fanatic of all ages, and welcome to the third installment of the Crimson Conversion on the Penn Sports Network. I am your host, the Beard of Broadcasting, Jeff Hart, and joining me today are sports analysts Stephen Langdon Jr. and Jake Slobotnik. We have an action-packed episode today of IUP Sports, and guys, I am excited. How are you feeling today?
I'm excited as well.
I'm feeling pretty good, especially since it's episode 3.
Absolutely, and starting off today, we have sports analyst Jacob Slobotnik giving us an intake on field hockey.
Starting off today's show, we take a look at the women's field hockey team. Coming off one of the worst seasons in club history, the Lady Hawks take a 3-13 overall record into Westchester this Saturday for their final match of the season. Although the record may look dismal, at least 70% of their losses were decided by 1 or 2 points. Kimberly Kelly is the name that stood out the most this season as she leads the campaign with 4 goals, 9 points, and a shot percentage of .308. Senior goalkeeper Olivia Accardi has been carrying most of the defensive weight on her shoulders in her final season, tallying 148 saves this season, 16 coming from their match against 7th-ranked Kutztown a few weeks ago. The major hindrance for this team was their penalty tally. Collectively, they have 287 fouls on the season, along with a 24-11 penalty ratio per game. These are what can cost you games, especially when the line is tight. However, there's a similarity between the field hockey team and the women's volleyball team. They both have young squads, graduating only 5 seniors, 3 starters. This club looks to put up a strong fight in the years to come. Could they make a playoff run in the next year or two? Signs are pointing toward yes.
Great analysis, Jake. And next up for the next segment, we have Steven giving us an inside view of the cross-country team.
Yeah, the cross-country team competed in the PSAC Championships on Saturday. The meet took place at Edinburgh University. The weather played a big factor as there were gusty winds and steady rainfall throughout the day. The women's team finished tied for 13th overall with Millersville at the meet. The team competed on the 6K course that featured almost 200 runners. Sam Crispin led the way, finishing in 34th place with a time of 25:41. On top of Crispin, Tricia Varner finished second on the team with and 69th overall at 26:44. And on the men's side, they ran an 8K race on the same day. The team finished 5th out of 15 teams running. The race featured over 227 runners. Sam Linz had a big day, leading the team by finishing at 14th with a time of 27:36. He beat his time from last year's PSAC championship by over a minute. Also in the top 25 was Michael Dunlick, who finished 21st with a time of 27:57, almost a minute faster than last year. Both Linz and Dunlick were named IUP Athletes of the Week, and it was their first time in both their careers to receive the honor. The men's and women's teams will compete in the 9th annual Go Fast River Run at Lock Haven Saturday before going to Pittsburgh for the 2018 NCAA Division II Atlantic Region Championships November 17th.
Thank you, Stephen. And for the next topic, we are going to be tackling it with a group discussion. We are going to move into the world of the gridiron and talk IUP football. This past week was an utterly dominating defensive performance from the Crimson Hawks. Guys, what is your take on their performance this past week against Edinburgh?
Well, in last week's episode, Stephen had a great prediction, IUP winning by 7, and he said even that victory can maybe hinder their chances at reaching the playoffs. We did see California struggle this past week. So it's pretty much up to chance. They have one week left to prove themselves, and if California can fall and if IUP can reign victorious, it'll look good on IUP's end. Now, guys, one thing that I've noticed, if it does come down to the wire, IUP kind of has an upper hand when it comes to seeding because they are in the D2 coaches poll, which could hinder the Vulcans' chances of getting in the playoffs. It's going to be a weird week whenever Shippensburg comes to invade Miller Stadium. I'm expecting great things from Lenny Williams in the IUP offense. Steven, I know you're going to touch on this. Lenny Williams may be playing in his last IUP football game ever.
Yeah, maybe his last IUP football game ever, and most likely his last home football game ever. But Lenny Williams continued the trend for IUP. It was their 3rd straight week with a 100-yard rusher, and Lenny Williams leading the day with 106. Unfortunately, though, with the poor conditions on the field, they also played in Edinburgh, so we saw a little bit of what we saw at the cross-country course is that it was raining all day, gusty winds, and just horrible playing conditions, and it was really about running the ball. Unfortunately, IUP gave up a lot of rushing yards. Fletcher for Edinburgh had 186 rushing yards. You need to pick up on those things, but I don't think that will hinder their success this week as they play Shippensburg. Not really the best team, but definitely a team that can withstand IUP's offense.
Definitely a middle-of-the-range team, and it's all going to come down to whether the IUP offense shows up that day or whether they decide to stay indoors and miss the postseason altogether. Prediction-wise, I think Lenny Williams is going to come into this game strong. Justice Evans is going to carry over the hot streak he's been having lately. I don't see anything wrong with him. A few notable injuries for the Crimson Hawks. Tyler Balega out for the season with a torn ACL after injuring it by falling into a hole during warm-ups against the Edinburgh game. You mentioned poor conditions both on the field, and quite honestly, the live stream was a bit lackluster, but we're not going to get into that. But yes, Tyler Balega out. Samir Bullock's been utilized more conservatively. I think he's going to get a bigger push coming into this game. Shippensburg, not really a rush defense, so I think IUP's going to capitalize on that. And also another thing that they really need to improve on, Dylan Sarka. Get the lead out of your foot, son. You can't be missing extra points, can't be missing easy chip shots from a field goal range. Those are what's going to come down to it. You were able to overcome Ashland last year in a lot of crucial games with your foot, but please, 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 I am 20 years old. I am way too young to be getting gray hairs because of your middle-of-the-range kicking. Please improve upon that. So if Sarkin can get on that, I really think that's going to come down to his foot winning or losing the game for the Crimson Hawks this week.
You touched upon Justice Evans. I think that this is a great game for him to succeed in. We saw he's really taken over the workload on that IUP rushing attack. Since you had Chris Temple, who's been dealing with a minor injury, I expect him to be suited up for this week, especially since it's going to be his last game. And I'm expecting Samir Bullock to get a few carries. We saw last week that he got a decent amount of carries, but I think the injury is still hindering a little bit. I expect the workload to be 50-50 with Samir and with Justice. But I expect Lenny Williams to come out here and have at least 4 passing touchdowns in this game. I expect Dom McNeil to go off, he had 80 yards leading the wide receiver total, and really made up for the majority of that receiving yards. So I expect him to come out strong, and I expect Lenny Williams to have at least 250 passing yards.
I do as well, and we meant a lot. Last week was definitely a factor of the defensive side for the Crimson Hawks. They tallied 3 interceptions, 4 sacks on IUP's part, and the biggest thing that really helped the IUP seal the deal was the Damon Lloyd, J.R. Stevens connection in the end zone. Damon Lloyd was able to tip the pass up. Stevens able to intercept it. They fell in the end zone for a touchback. They were able to seal the deal pretty much, as I said before. So if they can keep the defensive flow going coming into this game, it's going to be easy pickings for the Crimson Hawks.
Absolutely, guys, and great analysis on the game. Hopefully IUP can keep this hot streak going and propel them into the playoffs. Now we're going to cross over to the hardwood and talk about IUP men's basketball. This past week, the basketball team had an exhibition game against the number 2 ranked Kentucky, the powerhouse Division I school. That is correct. They lost 64-86. However, it was a competitive match through and through. What is your guys' take on that game?
Steven, I'll let you take the floor on this one.
Well, I have to say, Cobo Diaz had himself a heck of a day.
Absolutely.
17 points, 3 of 5 from 3. We don't really expect many three-pointers to come out of him, but for him to shoot the ball so well. Also, William Brunwick, fantastic game through and through. 6 of 9 with 5 boards and 14 points on the day. I really think that he was a really